Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about internships versus getting a job. So let's get into it. So the question in question here was basically, Frederick, is it easier to get a full-time job than it is to get an internship? And I will tell you that for the most part, at least based on my experience, it is. Getting a real job is a bit easier to, at least from what I can see, than getting an internship. It depends a little bit on the region as well. At least in my region, there is this issue, and it might be the same case for you. The problem with an internship is that that is usually a trial type of thing that happens. It's something that people, like a company, will try out with an individual, and it's not something that is so. Some companies do have a standard process for this, absolutely, but quite a lot of companies have more of the. I mean, they're more geared towards hiring people because what they want is to hire actual experienced developers that are going to produce them money. An intern is most of the time going to be viewed as a cost of some sort. You can absolutely get a productive intern into the fold and like have them produce something of value, but it also requires a bit of investment from you. And for some weird reason, I suppose that this has to do with the experience thing here. It's not that, because the thing is that it depends on what you put the intern to do, right? You can absolutely gain value from an intern, but my guess is that the reason why they are viewed more as a cost than an asset to the company is because of the mindset that you have when you get them. Because if you get a full-time employee as a software developer is going to work within your company, like your focus there is to get them fairly up to speed very quickly with the main parts of the system or the main product, so that you can start shocking them down as an asset to the company, because it takes a while to train somebody, even if it's a seasoned veteran, to be as productive as they can be within that company. But as an intern, you don't really make the same. I mean, it's very rare. I don't think I've ever seen it's extremely rare, at least, to see an intern be treated in the same sort of way, where they hire you with the intention of showing you the main system and training you in order to actually provide value to that system. Usually what happens is that you're put on some task outside of the main product or some support type of role, or I'm not going to say that you make coffee for other people, but you don't really get into it in the same fashion. And I think that this is more of because the thing is, like, the differences between hiring a junior developer and hiring an intern, it's hard to say, but the differences may not actually be all that big. They might be very much the same sort of thing, but most of the companies that I've seen, at least, seem to think about it in a different manner. It's kind of like if somebody has an idea, they have some quirky kind of cool thing they want to try out, and they want someone to be in charge of that project, but they don't actually have the ability to gather the resources from the people who are working at the company. Then they grab an intern to try out that experiment, because it's quote unquote free labor, or it's very cheap to do such a thing. So at least I found it harder to find a job as to get an internship than it was and like a good one, than it was to get like a proper job. Because that's another factor that you need to consider as an intern, and that is that quite often you may find yourself, as I said, because of this mentality that you are a short-term investment for a lot of companies, and it's something they kind of try out, and maybe they hire you, maybe they don't hire you. And then on top of that, you usually get put on a project that is not considered to be part of the main system, right? Because of all these subtle little things, you can very quickly find yourself in a situation where you get blatantly exploited, or that you're not treated very well. I've seen it happen quite a few times, I'm sorry to say, but as a full-time hire, that's for the company a different type of investment. The bar is of course a little bit higher as well for you to get a job as a full-time hire, but you're treated with the same, like you're treated thereafter as well. I mean, if you pass the bar and you become a full-time employee of the company, they will treat you quite differently from how they treat an intern. So what I want you to take away from this is that it's hard to say, depending on how we define what's easier, to get an internship or to get a job? I mean, on paper it should be easier to get an internship, but there's quite a lot of factors that go into getting an internship, because quite a lot of, like, there's not every company is looking for an intern, and not all the company, and quite a few companies, I mean, they only look for more experienced developers. So right off the bat, the pool of available options to you might be like bigger when it comes to just becoming a full-time employee. But of course, the expectations on you are higher if you want to be like looking for a full-time job. And as an intern, you can also very often run the risk of getting treated not that great, or being put on projects where, you know, they say they have an intention of hiring you, but they don't actually. They're just looking for someone to give them free labor for some project that they have running on at the company. So that's at least how I think about it. Getting employed when you have the skills as a developer is, in my world, easier than getting an internship. But there's still quite a few possibilities to getting an internship. You just have to be a little bit careful. Have a great day.